So every day, there is just this tidal wave of Epstein related stories, different things that have been revealed from the latest DOJ document dump. And it's hard to pick and choose what we get to talk about because we have limited time. However, here to talk to me about some of those revelations is one of my favorite comedians, Tim Dillon, host of the Tim Dillon Show. How are you, Tim?
All right, buckle up, Buttercups, because if you thought the Epstein files couldn't get any wilder, unfortunately, you were dead wrong. Every new dump of documents is like peeling back another layer of an onion, except this onion is full of rotten billionaires, politicians, and a stench that reaches the highest echelon of power. We're talking about a level of depravity that makes a horror movie look like a lullaby. But guess what? Some of your favorite right wing heroes are right in the thick of it, proving once again that their moral outrage is as fake as a $3 bill. We're diving deep into the latest revelations, and trust me, you're going to want to hear this. Let's roll the tape.
And I thank you. I believe everyone is innocent. And if you read these files with a clear head, your only takeaway is that everyone is innocent and nothing happened.
Totally. I mean, that's what Batya and Gar-Sargon said. Same with Ben Shapiro. So we should just
Yes.
take their word for it. Like, what's all the hubbub? Why are people talking about this?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, like, honestly, some of the stuff that's shocking to me is really about like Steve Bannon's close relationship with Epstein, because Bannon's been one of the loudest voices in releasing the files. And that makes me think maybe he didn't
Yeah.
think it was ever going to happen.
Bannon, who I interviewed one time, I didn't know that had like a relationship with Epstein. I would have asked him. I think, Bannon's a devout Catholic, right? He's a
Is he?
nationalist. Well, you know, you know.
Mhm.
So it's an odd pairing, right? But if you read the documents, they surely had a lot of communication. I guess Bannon was making a documentary.
Mhm.
Is that, yeah. And Bannon was advising Epstein on how to re-enter polite society.
That's
And
right.
that's uncomfortable. And it seems to be, I guess, for whatever reason, Bannon thought there was value in a relationship with a guy like Jeffrey Epstein. And
Yeah.
that's something he'll have to answer, and he'll have to answer that.
I mean, I would love to hear him talk about it. But so far, despite everything that we've read in the files about Bannon's relationship with Epstein, it seems like Bannon has been relatively unscathed. Like, I don't really see a giant group of people demanding he answer for these communications he had with them, but with Epstein. But let me give you a few examples so the audience knows what we're talking about here. So yes, Bannon was working on a documentary to essentially launder Epstein's image, which is already not a good look. But Epstein actually gave Bannon some advice in November of 2018. So this is a text message exchange that we're now privy to because of the files that were released. Um, so you should know that the DOJ weirdly redacted Epstein's name in this exchange. No idea why they did that.
Well, it's to
Other
Hold on. Did we just hear that right? Steve Bannon, the guy who practically invented the term culture war, the self proclaimed defender of traditional values, and a devout Catholic, was out here trying to give Jeffrey Epstein a PR makeover? The audacity, the absolute mind bending hypocrisy of it all. This isn't just uncomfortable, it's a moral black hole. This is like a vegan chef advising a butcher on how to make his slaughterhouse more ethical. What kind of value did Bannon see in a relationship with a convicted child sex trafficker? Was it an intellectual discourse? The shared love of what exactly? This exposes the rotten core of so much of the right wing establishment. They preach about family values, about protecting children, about morality. But when the chips are down, they're perfectly willing to cozy up to the worst of humanity if it serves their political or personal ends. It's not about principle, it's about power and image. And clearly, Bannon thought Epstein could offer him something. It really makes you wonder what else those so called moral crusaders are willing to do behind closed doors.
Protect him. It's to protect the victims. That's probably why they did it. That's just a
Right.
guess.
Right. Yeah, exactly. No, but in this case, it's like you can see Bannon's name. They didn't redact Bannon's name, but they redacted Epstein's name, which is amazing. Other documents that show the exact same exchange between the two show Epstein's name. That's how we know it's Epstein. But let me read this exchange to you. And it's basically Epstein telling Bannon, yo, you should really consider working in media because that offers you extra protections, right? He says, I'm refocused on you having a press/news base, even if it were called the movement. It is so structurally elegant, privileged, funding, subscriptions. So he basically mentions you'll be able to avoid in-kind treatment, your notebooks, safe, et cetera. And Bannon says, you mean have media platform, not NGO/political platform. And basically at that point, Epstein says, yes, you get more protection if, it's not an NGO, if it's not a nonprofit, if it's a for-profit media organization, you have certain press rights, press freedoms, certain protections. You do have to do filings if you have a nonprofit and disclose some of your financials to the public. So he kind of showed the difference there. And a year later, Bannon went on to host War Room on Real America's Voice.
Well, it's
So
also less ominous, right? So if you say like the Soros Open Society Foundation, which I think does do a lot of nefarious things, but all of these NGOs operate, primarily in the shadows, and they don't have like, for the most part, a lot of them don't have like charismatic frontmen. So if you have a media operation and you are a talented broadcaster, it demystifies the entire operation a little bit.
what was also interesting is they had an exchange where Epstein said, why don't you own the whole populist right label? Take it from Trump. You should make it your own, but not because you actually believe in populism, but because you're going to use it as a way of manipulating people, which I thought was really interesting too.
Okay, let's just marinate in that for a second. Jeffrey Epstein, a man who built an empire on exploiting children, was giving Steve Bannon, the architect of Trump's populist rise, advice on how to weaponize political labels? Not because Bannon believed in populism, but because it's a tool for manipulation? Let that sink in. This isn't some grand ideological movement driven by the will of the people. It's a cynical, calculated strategy cooked up by an alleged pedophile and a right-wing populist. Look, they see the populist right as a brand, a label to be owned and exploited, not a genuine cry for the working class. It's like a wolf in sheep's clothing, except the wolf is wearing a MAGA hat and the sheep are, well, they're us. This exchange isn't just a smoking gun. It's a neon sign flashing, you are being played, you are being played. They don't care about you. They care about power, control, and isolating themselves from consequences, any kind of consequences. And Epstein, of all people, was helping Bannon perfect the craft of political illusion. This is crazy, complete madness.
Now, what is Bannon even looking to protect himself from, right? So that's interesting. There was also this document indicating that Epstein was purchasing a massive amount of sulfuric acid. So I want to show you that.
Well, that is actually explainable. Sulfuric acid is what Bannon uses on his skin. And so and I do it too. It's similar if you have Irish skin, no, I mean, so Epstein supposedly ordered that sulfuric acid the day after they opened an investigation into him, which he clearly knew about. He's clearly got people at the FBI in the intelligence community that tipped him off. And I don't know about sulfuric acid. I imagine it would dissolve material and biological material potentially, right? Isn't that what it does?
Bingo. And you're right to
Yeah.
point out the date of this order. So this is a
Right.
document for the wire transfer, and it is asking for 6 55-gallon drums of sulfuric acid.
Yeah.
Now, some have said, no, no, there is a reasonable explanation for this, right? Sulfuric acid can be used for reverse osmosis on, private islands, isolated properties. But the date is important because
Yeah.
December 6th, 2018 is when the
Yeah.
FBI launched its investigation into Epstein. And that's the same day he bought the sulfuric acid.
Why are
Uh,
these properties in the middle of nowhere? Why does he have a ranch in New Mexico in the middle of nowhere? Why does he have an island? There's tons of pedophiles that operate on land. I think that
yeah.
the remote nature of these properties, you would imagine that people disappear. I mean, it is now coming out, these are billionaires, the heads of governments. I mean, are they going to have a problem having someone killed? They kill people all day. They press buttons and they lay waste to entire communities. Would they have a moral qualm with, they might not do it themselves. They may, but does anyone believe that a billionaire who's willing to rape a minor, a child, an adult, anyone would have a problem if that person was going to speak or talk, or if there was an accident, or if something happened that would, expose what's going on? Does anyone think these people wouldn't resort to killing people? Does
I mean,
any serious person believe that they wouldn't kill someone to safeguard their position in society, their family's position, their wealth, their legacy, their name? Does any human being go, well, they'll fly to the island, they'll rape the kid, but they're not killing anyone? I don't take anyone seriously who believes that.
So do you think this is indicative of people who just reach a certain level of wealth? Like, because I had this conversation with Cenk recently where I'm just like, I don't think that if I were suddenly a billionaire, I would
Yeah.
just have this like hunger for victimizing people or killing people, or like, I like being bored. I don't get enough opportunity to be bored. You know what I'm saying? But the argument is you reach that level of wealth and you get bored real easily because you've done everything, you've seen everything,
Yeah.
and it takes a lot to get a thrill. Do you think that's the case?
It's hard to say that this is the cure for boredom. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
It is tough to say. I believe, this is going to sound wacky, that there are elements of the ruling class that have a quasi-religious belief system that is not something that is out in the open. And a lot of people think it's all esoteric. It's all like symbols. It's mainly aesthetic. All of this, like Skull and Bones, we're jerking off in the coffin. And we go to Bohemian Grove and there's an owl and it's a mock sacrifice. And, we're just blowing off steam. We're just guys blowing off steam in the woods. All right, maybe, but maybe there's a few of those guys who are not getting off on the mock sacrifice. Is that possible? That maybe there's a couple of people in the woods in Northern California that go, this mock sacrifice not really doing it for us. I believe there are people at those echelons of society who are evil, in the same way that there are people that are poor that are evil, right? Or middle class or whatever. There are serial killers, and we know this, and serial rapists and people who've tortured people. Why wouldn't they exist at the highest levels of society? And if they did, they would never face any consequences for it. And I do believe a lot of this weird artwork and these strange rituals, Bohemian Grove would be weird if it was a bunch of people who did it who were like, I don't know, middle management marketing types. That would be odd. It's really weird when it's the heads of all of the major corporations, media institutions, kings, presidents. They're all standing there in front of Moloch. Moloch is, the god of child sacrifice. They're standing there in the woods. Now, again, you might go, well, it means nothing. You're an idiot. You're a nut. It's silly. These are just guys hanging out. Well, maybe some people get invited there and they're just hanging out or whatever. But it does seem very possible that if you're standing in the woods worshiping Moloch as a joke, as a bit, that maybe some of them are doing it for real.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are certainly things in the files that I would have thought anyone telling me this is some of the stuff they're up to prior to looking at the files for myself, I would think, okay, this person is insane and a little too conspiracy brained.
Yeah.
But there are too many strange things in these files, right? So people have brought up the references to pizza. The latest thing, by the way, is the references to jerky, like
Right.
beef jerky. So talk about that a little bit because
Yeah. It's strange to me that billionaires eat pizza and beef jerky. Number one, that's crazy. These people have the access to the best private chefs.
All right, this is where we venture into the truly disturbing. The kind of stuff that makes your skin crawl and your stomach churn. We know where they're having sex with kids. We just hope they're not eating them. Is that seriously the bar now? Is that the new baseline for acceptable behavior amongst global elite? Oh, thank goodness. They only sexually abuse children, they don't cannibalize them. This isn't a joke, folks. This is the logical, horrified conclusion of a system where power and wealth grant absolute impunity. When you get away with anything, the human mind, especially a deprived one, will push every boundary imaginable. The pizza and jerky codes, the sulfuric acid orders, the remote islands. It all paints a picture so grotesque it sounds like a bad horror movie. But this isn't fiction. This is real life. And these are real people at the top of our society. It's a stark, terrifying reminder that the monsters aren't always under the bed. Sometimes they're in penthouses, on private jets, and unfortunately advising presidents. The fact that we have to hope they're not engaging in cannibalism tells you everything you need to know about the moral basis and the moral bias we're staring into. This system is broken. It's rotten to its core, and it's time we rip it out by its roots.
They go to five-star restaurants. They stay in five-star hotels. They stay in villas. They import, the best chefs in the world to cook for them weeks at a time. The idea that they're talking about pizza, they're talking about jerky, that they're eating these things and it registers that it would be in an email. It's clearly a code. And it was always weird to me. Like, I didn't go in for all of Pizzagate because it got wrapped up into the QAnon thing where it was like Biden's a clone and there's going to be a trial and, Chrissy Teigen is running the whole thing. And I was like, if Chrissy Teigen was running the entire thing, it would be the most interesting thing about her. But I think that, you can't ignore how weird these things are, how strange, how out of place. It seems to be a code. And is it cannibalism? We don't know. Maybe it is. Is that the point we're going to get to in this country where we go, we know they're having sex with the kids, we just hope they're not eating them? Is that where we're at?
The Epstein files are more than just a scandal. They're a window into the absolute depravity and untouchable nature of the ultra-rich and powerful. They show us that the rules don't apply to everyone, and that some people are willing to do truly unspeakable things to maintain their status and hide their crimes. But here's the thing. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. We have to keep talking about this, keep demanding accountability, and keep pushing for a world where justice isn't just for the poor and the marginalized. If you found this as infuriating and eye-opening as I did, hit that like button, share this video, and most importantly, let me know in the comments what shocked you most about these revelations. Let's keep this conversation going and fight for a world where no one, no matter how rich or poor, is above the law. Don't forget to subscribe for more hard-hitting takes on the issues that truly matter. We'll see you next time. And as always, folks, stay woke.